Hello and welcome to my video. Or if you're a constant watcher or a subscriber, welcome back. This video is going to be a why I like video, but there's going to be a little bit of a criticism in here, and it's going to be the same for the next two or three why I likes because it it kind of feeds into my criticism for companies and how they're treating their brands now. Um, and it's going to be the same way with a couple of other videos. But this is going to be why I like Marvel Comics. So, Marvel Comics is definitely a huge name, and it is very much a memorable franchise. It's easy to love or hate certain things within Marvel, and I think that's fair with any sort of fandom or franchise. Is you're going to find a character that you love and a character that you hate, and a storyline that you like and a storyline that you hate, right? And sometimes hate can be a little bit strong of a word. It just doesn't fit what you are looking for. And that's to each their own. However, the main part that brought me into Marvel was not really the Avengers themselves, but the concept of different realities, different main events that change how we look at different characters and their flaws. Um, but more so, back to the topic of why I like. So, I like Marvel because, again, variety is the spice of life for me. I always want different things, and it's why I have so many different franchises and fandoms that I'm a part of. Is it I just like different things. It could be the ADHD brain. I don't know, and I don't really care to really go into a therapy session to discuss why I like a variety, right? Uh, so, when I say variety, what do I mean by that? Well, Marvel has its mainstays, so Iron Man, Captain America, the Hulk, Ghost Rider, Spider Man, the Fantastic Four, the X Men, the Avengers. Um, and I didn't hear about this one too early on into being a fan, but also the Inhumans. Um, and along with that comes different like timeline changing events. So you have your Absolute Carnage, your King in Black, your Age of Apocalypse, Age of X, the All New, All Different, the Annihilation event, Civil War, Armor Wars, which was related to Iron Man, which brought out a lot of fun characters with the different takes on having a suit styled like Iron Man, something more mobile, something that can be a military or personal use kind of thing. Um, then there's alternate universes. They have their special prints and the figures, the Lego toy lines, the games. It's all a huge fun part of it for me. Um, Now I am going to throw a bit of criticism in here because it feels like everybody takes criticism as personal rather than professional, and I think that's where a lot of things get messed up for franchises is when they take things personal rather than as a business aspect. What do I mean by that? Well, when you play up a character that was widely disliked in the comics into a movie or TV series, and rather than understanding the criticism, you take it as, oh, well, we have this audience for this, instead of listening to your mainstay audience and then telling your entire audience that they're a bunch of idiots because they don't like this new thing that you're throwing in their face, right? There's, I mentioned it in the Warhammer video, a healthy way of doing certain playing into different characteristics of characters, right? But for example, like Spider-Man. Spider-Man was meant to be the character that the average reader could kind of relate to, where he has his flaws, he has his problems, he goes through his daily struggles, and at the end of the day, he is still just Peter Parker. And we see him go through different emotions, different growths, different challenges. He's not just magically perfect at everything, and that's what makes it a very sellable character, a very likable character. Is he recognizes these problems, he goes through these problems, and he kind of just does what he can. There's moments where his anger gets the better of him, his sorrow gets the better of him, and it's a very relatable thing for most people. Now, instead, you take a character who's just magically flawless all the time and has no struggles other than getting over their own ego, and you paint them as almost a villain, but then try to paint them as a hero replacement for someone who's already beloved. And you kind of run into the problem that you see very commonly, where they appear as a villain even though you're trying to sell them as a hero. And then you get pissed off when people don't like it. And I think rather than learning from that and adjusting, the current franchise owners and the majority just go, oh no, we have to continue to throw out this or that or a certain mentality. And that ruins your audience. And then the audience that you hope to garner from doing this, when they really don't support you anyway, they just wanted to say that they got a victory over on you. You're kind of shooting yourself in the foot and then shooting yourself in the foot again and wondering what the hell went wrong. And I think that's a on you kind of thing, especially when you don't take that advice or that criticism in stride. Um, it used to be where if a certain comic was liked or disliked, they would pay attention to it. They'd pay attention to the criticism. And I don't mean the criticism in the loud form. I mean criticism in the fan form, right? If I have a fan who doesn't like me talking about something, I'm going to adjust a little bit. Sure, it's what I need to do in order to grow an audience. However, I'm not going to placate to an audience that I don't want, right? And seeing that change Marvel in the way that it has, just it's disappointing. Now, am I still going to buy Marvel products or look at older comics? Oh, absolutely. I'm still a fan. I'm just not a fan of the modern day stuff that they're putting out, so I'm not going to support it through that means. Uh, does that help make that point get across? Not really. They're going to do what they want to do because they're a giant freaking franchise. And if that means shooting themselves in the foot multiple times, that's on them. You, as a fan, can choose how to support if you want to support, or if you want to give it a break and then come back to it later, right? I did the same for World of Warcraft for off and on years. And I think that's what needs to be done rather than just throwing a temper tantrum and then still going back to the same product anyway, right? But again, I want to go back to the why I like part of the video now that I've gotten my little tidbit out of it. So when you look at like mainstays, the crossovers from different characters, the different teams, all of the different timelines, it all makes a giant crazy mess, and I kind of like it. I absolutely adore the concept of the symbiotes and how they gain different characteristics of their hosts, and I think that's a fun thing. Um, when you look at Iron Man and the Armor Wars, the different countries and the different characters that come up with these different suits with different effects or abilities, it makes for a fun time. I wish they had gotten to show more off with the different Iron Man suits in the movies. But again, I get it. They're going for the more actiony kind of thing to tell a story, and that's that's their choice. And I still appreciate it. Iron Man was a fun series of movies for me, and getting to see the different things unfold, like with Whiplash or with Ironmonger. Uh, the Civil War in the movies versus in the comics was a lot shorter, and I think they missed an opportunity to bring in a bunch of different franchises. But I also think that there was different ownership of different parts of the Marvel universe at that time, so I can't really blame them for not going in depth with what happened in the comics into the movies. Do I think it would have been cool? Oh, absolutely. But again, that's just my thought process. I still love Marvel, and I still love a lot of the things that come from the Marvel franchise. And I hope if they don't change and it crashes and burns, the next person to pick up ownership goes, you know what? Here's this primary audience. We need to play to them to keep growing and to keep making money to keep surviving. And I hope they do it in a way that still makes it fun. Uh, but yeah, that's. I don't know if I'd really call it a why I like, because I'm not showing the same extreme love that I have for some other brands and some other franchises. But that's just me. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and I hope that if you like the video, you go ahead and hit that like button, you subscribe. If there is specific timelines or characters that you want covered, please feel free to leave a comment. I am doing these umbrella videos to kind of open up that doorway so that way I can then start feeding into certain aspects of different franchises. And in the long run, I just want to share my criticisms and my joy of different things. So, thank you. Bye.